This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Spring fling. Good afternoon. Welcome aboard. Doesn't feel like it today, folks, but milder air is on the way. We'll be in the nifty 50s by Saturday. Tomorrow looks absolutely gorgeous. Meteorologist Kevin Williams tells us how long the warm spell will last coming up in that forecast. All eyes on Iran today. The U.S. and Iran holding a third round of peace talks in Geneva, Switzerland. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson.
Now, many see this as a last-ditch effort to prevent a war between the United States and Iran.
President Trump's threatening military strikes if Tehran does not abandon its nuclear weapons program. Vice President J.D. Vance.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they try to rebuild the nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us. And in fact, we've seen evidence that they have tried to do exactly that.
National security and military analyst Dr. Rebecca Grant.
It's a no-brainer. Iran needs to give up that 972 pounds of enriched uranium and curtail their missile programs. That's the bottom line.
An armada of U.S. warships and aircraft have massed in the Middle East to act as a deterrent to Iran's atomic pursuits. Shootout at sea. Communist Cuba says a Florida speedboat intercepted by the country's Coast Guard yesterday was trying to infiltrate Cuba for, quote, terrorist purposes. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Suffice it to say, it is highly unusual to see shootouts in open sea like that. It's not something that happens every day. It's something, frankly, that hasn't happened with Cuba in a very long time. But we're going to find out. We're not going to base our conclusions on what they've told us. And I'm very, very confident that we will know the full story of what happened here, and we will know it soon. And then, we'll respond appropriately based on what that information tells us.
4 on the boat were killed. 6 were injured when the Cuban Coast Guard opened fire. Correspondent Jared Hill.
Cuban officials now say the people on the Florida-registered speedboat were Cuban nationals living in the U.S. and that some had violent criminal records. Cuban authorities say they found rifles, handguns, Molotov cocktails, bulletproof vests, and camo uniforms on the boat. They say the group was planning to carry out terrorism on the island, and that another person arrested in Cuba confessed that he was sent from the U.S. to receive the so-called infiltrators.
The boat was detected in territorial waters near Cuba when an exchange of gunfire happened. Cuba says those on the boat fired first. Former President Bill Clinton and wife Hillary are being deposed this week as part of a congressional probe into the network of influence and crime run by the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Both of those depositions are happening at the Clinton Mansion in Chappaqua, New York. The Clintons will testify under oath behind closed doors, and it will be filmed.
One of the questions that we all have in both parties is how was Jeffrey Epstein able to surround himself with the most powerful people in the world?
House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer.
Epstein was in the White House 16 times while Bill Clinton was president, and then Bill Clinton flew on his plane 27 times post-presidency.
Hillary Clinton claims she never even met Jeffrey Epstein. Her deposition is today. Bill Clinton will be deposed tomorrow. At least 10 FBI agents who worked on the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case have now been fired. CBS's Sarah Lynch.
My understanding is that the firings are coming after Reuters reported that Kash Patel had discovered that the FBI had previously subpoenaed his phone records as well as White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles' phone records, both when they were private citizens.
The FBI raided the Florida estate of President Trump in August of 2022 on the orders of the Biden Justice Department. The woman at the center of a landmark trial accusing big tech of addicting teens to social media, that woman takes the witness stand today. The trial is happening in Los Angeles. We get an update from Kristen Goodwin.
The 20-year-old identified as KGM alleges Meta and YouTube knowingly created addictive features that led to her depression as a teen. A therapist testifying she diagnosed KGM with social phobia and body dysmorphia at 13. Meta and YouTube both deny the allegations, arguing they've debuted several safety features to protect users.
Kristen Goodwin in L.A. A new study today by the American Heart Association says an increasing number of people under the age of 55 are dying from heart attacks. Cardiologist Sadia Khan at Northwestern School of Medicine.
We're seeing more and more young people with risk factors like obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure.
More women than men under the age of 55 are dying from heart attacks in these United States. Still to come on the Noon Report, a Thursday edition. Water woes in Livingston County, migrant death in Buffalo, and Syracuse settles with sex abuse victims.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams, and as we get ready to close out the work week, we do so with a clearing trend and a modest warming trend. Forecast details are coming up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. Let's check the stories making news where you live. All across New York and Pennsylvania, a massive fire overnight destroyed a Dunkin' restaurant in Horseheads, New York. Flames were seen shooting out of the roof of that building. Chambers Road was closed for several hours while fire crews worked to douse the flames. In Bradford County, Pennsylvania, a head-on crash with a dump truck this week claimed the life of the former fire chief of the town of Dewshore. The victim, identified as 75-year-old Frank Youngkin. His wife, Bonnie, was also killed in the crash.
They were great people.
Youngkin's brother, John, the current fire chief of Dewshore, responded to the crash that claimed the life of his own sibling.
Responders often go to fatal incidents, and that's difficult. That's difficult to handle. But when you, as a responder, go to an incident with a fatality and it's a family member, it is something that really tests the mettle of your soul.
Dewshore is located in Sullivan County, Pennsylvania. The crash happened on Route 220 in Albany Township in Bradford County. The Boonville, New York fire chief, who was injured in a church explosion last week, is now out of the hospital. 2 other firefighters remain in critical condition. That blast happened at the Abundant Life Fellowship Church on Route 12 in Boonville. It's believed a fuel line damaged when the building shifted under the weight of heavy snow is what sparked the blast. New SNAP work requirements take effect Sunday, March 1st, and it will impact about 2.5 million low-income Americans, including thousands in Western New York. Family Life's Dee Haley has the view from our Buffalo newsroom.
Changes are coming to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and some recipients will be required to meet new work and reporting standards. The changes stem from a federal budget measure passed by Congress last summer and coined by President Donald Trump as the One Big Beautiful Bill. The law includes expanded work requirements for certain SNAP recipients nationwide. Under the new guidelines, able-bodied adults who do not have children under 14 in their households and are physically and mentally able to work will be required to work at least 20 hours per week or participate in qualifying activities. The new requirements will reportedly impact about 7,500 people locally and take effect on March 1st. Dee Haley, Family Life News.
Thank you, Dee. For the first time in 5 years, the Catholic Diocese of Syracuse, New York, emerged from bankruptcy, and that will clear the way for the distribution of $176 million to hundreds of clergy sex abuse victims. The Catholic Church declared bankruptcy in June of 2020 as it faced a growing number of lawsuits. The Syracuse Diocese covers 7 counties in central New York across 116 parishes and employs roughly 3,000 people. The number of migrant workers being held at the ICE detention center in Batavia, New York, now exceeds the maximum occupancy. Immigrant rights activist Gabriella Spunt says conditions inside that facility are deplorable.
Some of the workers were there for several months and opted to self-deport because the conditions were so bad. They just didn't even want to be there.
U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand was asked by 13 Wham about overcrowding in Batavia.
We have been informed that the conditions are horrific. We have demanded that they rectify it and make sure there's not crowding and improve the conditions.
Meantime, Buffalo Mayor Sean Ryan is demanding a probe after a refugee from Myanmar was found dead Tuesday night on a city street just days after he was dropped off at a Tim Hortons by ICE agents. Immigration attorney Rosanna Berardi says a lack of communication by ICE may have been what led to these unfortunate circumstances.
They're not required to tell a family member. So from time to time, this happens, and there's a lot of foreign nationals in criminal custody that get released into Border Patrol or ICE custody. That happens all day, every day, all throughout America. So this is really, really unfortunate. And it just seems like maybe there was a gap in communication.
This refugee was arrested last year after trespassing in a woman's yard and then assaulting police officers. He was mostly blind and could not speak English. The city of Rochester's announced a new initiative aimed at attracting more teachers to New York's third largest school district. It's called Teach Rochester, and it offers financial incentives to lure educators. The district's offering loan forgiveness programs, among other things. Rochester is currently dealing with a teacher shortage problem. Concerns are growing after an energy company punctured an aquifer in Livingston County, New York. Water from that aquifer, about 400 feet underground, is surfacing at a rate of about 50 to 100 gallons every minute. Talk about a gusher. The company in question, Horseshoe Solar, was drilling beneath the Genesee River at its solar sites in the towns of Rush and Caledonia. Ken Estes owns a farm about 2 miles from there.
Our water here is critical to the agriculture that we do, whether it be the livestock, the horses, or the crops that we produce. So the aquifer and water table is critical to that. So when something happens to the aquifer, it's quite concerning.
Estes tells 13 WHAM water's been leaking from the drilling site for nearly 3 weeks now. Horseshoe Solar says the accident happened as it was installing a conduit under the Genesee River.
It's hard to know what kind of effect we'll have. You lose water in an aquifer, the water table drops with that. So we potentially could see wells being affected in the neighborhood down the road.
Horseshoe Solar plans to install hydrophobic foam near the project site to stop the flow of water. The company says that foam is commonly used as a sealant in underground construction and will not affect the drinking water there in Livingston County. Democratic Senator John Fetterman is getting more support from Republicans than his own party. Check this out. According to Quinnipiac, 73% of Pennsylvania Republicans approve of the job the Democrat is doing. 62% of Democrats disapprove of Fetterman's job performance. The first-term senators angered many Democrats for his independent voting record on Capitol Hill. New poll shows what Pennsylvania voters think about Governor Shapiro possibly running for president in a couple of years.
According to a new Quinnipiac University survey, 43% of registered Pennsylvania voters say Shapiro would not make a good president, while 40% say he would. The poll's margin of error is plus or minus 4.7 percentage points. Support for the governor is strong among Democrats, with 69% saying he would make a good president. Meanwhile, 74% of Republicans disagree. The results contrast with Shapiro's 56% approval rating as governor. The survey included 836 registered voters statewide. Brian Query, Family Life News.
All right, Brian, thank you. Erie County, New York lawmakers are advocating for legislation that would allow minors to hunt. The pilot program lets kids ages 12 and 13 hunt deer in Erie County under the supervision of an adult. Erie County, by the way, is the only county in upstate New York that is yet to join that pilot program. And a New York grandfather is appealing to Governor Hochul to let him keep his treasured license plate. Here's reporter Sarah Lee Kessler.
Seth Bykowski, a 69-year-old Long Island man, has had the vanity plate for 5 years without any complaints. But all of a sudden in January, the DMV revoked it, saying it was offensive. It says, "Pee before we go." Bykowski believes it's clever and comical, saying it's a phrase every parent or grandparent uses. And the West Hempstead man is asking Governor Hochul to intervene so he can keep the vanity plate. She apparently gets Bykowski's humor and says she will. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
All right, good for him. Thank you, Sarah. Sports next. It's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snedley. Bob, playing in the Olympic Games did not slow down Tage Thompson. He scored a goal and dished out an assist to help the Sabres beat the Devils last night 2-1. Buffalo looking to make the playoffs for the first time in 14 seasons, and they're in a pretty good position right now. Currently, the top wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. Well, one player that did get slowed down because of the Olympics is Sidney Crosby. The captain for the Penguins is out, and he's going to be out for quite some time. The Pens announcing that Sid the Kid's going to miss at least 4 weeks due to the injury sustained during Canada's quarterfinal win over Czechia. The Flyers dropped a 3-1 decision to the Caps. Also skating to wins, the Lightning, Stars, Avs, Jets, Knights, and Ducks. In the NBA, Nikola Jokic had 30 points and 12 rebounds. He led the Nuggets to a 103-84 thumping of the Boston Celtics. In Detroit, the Thunder played without 5 of their top 6 scorers, and they still made a game of it against the Pistons. But Jalen Duran and Cade Cunningham both scored 29 points, and that was good enough to help secure the win for Detroit. Also picking up wins, the Spurs, Warriors, Rockets, and Bucks. And finally this from the world of baseball. Another Yankees legend is set to be immortalized as a member of Monument Park. Hall of Fame pitcher CC Sabathia's number 52 is going to be retired by the Bronx Bombers. He will be the 24th former player to have his number retired by the Pinstripes. That is a look at sports.
All right, quite an honor for him. Been a lot of greats go through that program for sure. Still to come on the Noon Report. Deadly confrontation off the coast of Cuba. High-stakes talks between the U.S. and Iran at its deposition day for Hillary Clinton.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stone Street. A new social media platform launched this month with the tagline, "Humans Welcome to Observe." As it turns out, Moltbook, is what it's called, isn't designed for people. It's a social network that's exclusively for artificially intelligent think bots, conversing with other bots about things like consciousness, purpose, and whether they're living in a simulation. So far, over 1 million humans have accepted the invitation to observe. It's a strange moment when humans become spectators of our own technologies as they debate what it means for them to exist. But then again, here we are. We live in a culture where existential questions like who am I and why am I here have never been more urgent and never been more confusing. The atheist philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche predicted as much in his parable of the madman. When a civilization detaches from God, it has effectively, as he said it, unchained the earth from its sun. Without God as a fixed point of reference for identity or meaning or purpose, humanity loses all orientation. And that's not all. Do we not feel the breath of empty space? The madman then asked. Has it not become colder? Are we not straying as through an infinite nothing? He said. Unchained from the sun, the only alternative is that identity is self-constructed, and that's where we are. Social media profiles, elaborate pronoun demands, curated personas, tribal affiliations. These are all things that claim to define who we are. The gender revolution insists biology is completely irrelevant to the question of identity, but feelings, those are authoritative. Now AI bots are creating their own alternative realities and debating their own feelings and their existence while humans just watch from the sidelines. Though every alternative identity promises that you can be whoever you want to be, whoever you choose to be, whoever you make yourself to be, none of them actually answer the question that really matters. Who are we really? The Christian answer is not to construct an identity or to imagine an alternative reality. Instead, it begins with the truth about reality itself, the truth with a capital T. Humans are made in the image of God, made to be in relationship with God through Christ. God is the fixed reference point by which we can actually answer the question, who am I? What we know about God is that he's Trinity. In other words, God doesn't merely do relationships, he is a relationship. And that helps explain to us what it means to be made in his image. In fact, there are 4 essential relationships that God created us in. First is the defining relationship, our relationship with God. Second, there's the inward relationship, which reflects the reality of our self-awareness. Third is our relationships with other image bearers, including friends, neighbors, communities, marriage, family, society. Finally, our relationship with the rest of creation, which we are to cultivate and steward for God's glory. Now, every one of these relationships is an essential aspect of what it means to be human and are fundamentally ordered around the primary relationship, the one with God. Untethered from God, we don't know who we are or how we should live. But in Christ, all of those relationships are restored. Truth Rising, the study, is a 4-part journey through the essentials of a Christian worldview, a worldview big enough for the challenges of the cultural moment. Learn how to think about life and the world through the lenses of hope, truth, identity, and calling. For a deeper look at identity, along with hope, truth, and calling, please join Truth Rising, the study. Learn more by going to colsoncenter.org/study. That's colsoncenter.org/study. For Breakpoint, I'm John Stonestreet. And for more resources or to share this commentary with others, go to colsoncenter.org/radio.
Thanks, John. Outside we go next. Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life forecast for this afternoon. Sun and clouds, couple of leftover flurries southeast of Lake Ontario. Little lake snow at the Tuckville Plateau. High temperatures, mostly 30s tonight. Clear to partly cloudy, cold. Low temps, teens and low 20s. Tomorrow, partly sunny. High temps in the 40s. Saturday, mostly cloudy, some limited sun. High temperatures Saturday, upper 30s to the upper 40s.
Okie doke, Kip. Thank you very much. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price. Here's what's going on Thursday, February 26th. A new round of nuclear talks got underway today in Geneva, Switzerland, between Iran and the U.S. Secretary of State Rubio says Tehran is bent on seeing the destruction of us.
Beyond just a nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons that are solely designed to attack America and attack Americans.
President Trump said in his State of the Union speech that Iran has restarted its nuclear weapons program and is working on building missiles that can reach the United States. Reporter Keir Simmons.
President Trump has amassed huge firepower in this region while saying during the State of the Union his preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy, and that's understandable because a decision to strike Iran could be one of the most consequential of his presidency.
An armada of U.S. warships and aircraft have massed in the Middle East to act as a deterrent to Iran's atomic pursuits. A deadly confrontation off the coast of Cuba. Communist troops shot and killed 4 people on a Florida speedboat yesterday. 6 others on that boat were injured. The Trump White House has launched an investigation. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez.
This is quickly spiraling into an international incident. The Trump administration says it's trying to sort out the facts here. This all comes as the U.S. has been taking dramatic steps to choke Cuba's economy and potentially topple its government. Now, it's scrambling to find out what led to this violent shootout at sea.
All those on board were Cuban nationals living in the U.S. Some had a known history of criminal violence. Cuba says they were planning to conduct an infiltration for terrorist purposes. Former President Bill Clinton and wife Hillary are being deposed today and tomorrow at their home in Chappaqua, New York. It has to do with their ties, or alleged ties, to the late child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Correspondent Garrett Hake.
The Clintons have told the House Oversight Committee that they have nothing to contribute to this investigation. But the fact that the former president has appeared in the files, despite not being accused of any wrongdoing, was enough to force the committee to threaten contempt if they refuse to appear.
The depositions will be under oath behind closed doors, and they will be filmed. Hillary Clinton's being questioned today. Husband Bill will be questioned tomorrow. A measles outbreak in South Carolina has sickened nearly 1,000 people.
The Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy says there are now 979 cases of the highly contagious disease in the state, with 6 more cases reported this week. The South Carolina Department of Public Health says the vast majority of those cases are in Spartanburg County, which has been the epicenter of the outbreak since last October. Over 900 people in the measles outbreak are unvaccinated. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Thank you, Mark. Researchers say more younger people than ever before are dying from heart attacks in this country, and many of them have no traditional risk factors.
In the decade leading up to 2022, researchers found a dramatic increase in the number of heart attack deaths among adults under the age of 55. Deaths were higher among women. Dr. Sadia Khan.
We all have this picture in our brains, or when we Google heart attack and a picture of a middle-aged man comes up. So this to me is really an alarm bell highlighting awareness that young women have heart attacks.
And their risk factors were more likely to be non-traditional, such as low-income, kidney disease, and non-tobacco drug use.
Heather Bosch in Washington. This is the Noon Report on Family Life.
This is Faith Under Fire. We take you straight to the front lines of religious battlegrounds. I'm your host, Sarah Harnish. With me today, Homeschool New York LEA Advisory Board member, Ed Brown. We're talking homeschool sports in New York. 20 states allow homeschoolers to play in public school athletics, including Pennsylvania, but not New York. The argument is that homeschool parents pay the same school taxes to the state and have school-age kids, but are excluded because they choose to keep academics at home. Tell me what Homeschool New York is doing to fight for the rights of homeschool children in sports.
Homeschool New York is advocating for two bills, one in the Senate and one in the Assembly. Senator Joseph Adabo is actively working to allow homeschool students to play varsity sports in high school in New York.
Where are those bills at? What's happening next with them?
Both bills are in committee. They're both in the education committees at this point. They have several co-sponsors, which is incredibly exciting. The Assembly bill has almost 50 co-sponsors on both sides of the aisle, Democratic and Republican, and the Senate bill has 12 co-sponsors at this time. We're very excited about the positive atmosphere around the request. We're hoping through some advocacy efforts every month that we will continue to generate movement and potentially a vote out of committee.
It is encouraging that almost half the states in the country allow homeschoolers to play on public school sports. Do you think that there is a chance in New York State for that to happen as well?
Several of our rural school districts are struggling to put on certain sports because they require a lot of students, and this could be a possibility for those school districts that are struggling to staff teams and are potentially combining school districts to put together football teams or baseball teams to have more students try out for and be competitive throughout the New York State Public High School Athletic Association programs.
Why is it a win for the kids as well?
Athletics is amazing. First, it helps us to use our God-given physical abilities. Second, it helps us to hone those physical abilities. It helps to teach students to persevere through challenging situations, whether it's in practice or competition. It's also a wonderful place to develop leadership skills and working on things as a team. It's a win-win for everybody involved.
You're about a month and a half from Capitol Day, where you're going to bring lots of homeschoolers to Albany so they can experience what it's like to be in the state capitol and meet lawmakers and see where the laws are made. Tell me what's on the docket. What does a typical Capitol Day look like?
We're excited this year to change up our Capitol Day program. This year we're inviting a friend of ours, Lauren Gideon from Education Independence, to connect with our member families around the fundamental freedoms and independence in education. We're excited to allow our families to have the opportunity to take advantage of the New York State Museum, some of the internal Capitol tours. This year, we're providing our members breakfast and lunch so that they can stay in the Capitol, be immersed in the experience, potentially reach out and meet with their local legislators in their Albany setting.
And it's coming up. It's going to be in like a month and a half here. You have the dates?
May 4th and May 5th. We have a small program Monday, May 4th at a country club just outside of Albany where we're going to talk about the legislative agenda, talk about the sports bill, talk about another bill that we're working on called Around the Letter of Substantial Equivalence. And then on Tuesday, May 5th, we'll gather in the Capitol around 9 a.m. for a robust agenda allowing families to explore Albany.
There are 5 states that are red states on the Homeschool Legal Defense Organization website. Those are the hardest states in the entire nation to homeschool your children. Family Life has coverage in New York and Pennsylvania, and guess what? New York and PA are 2 of those 5 states. Why does homeschool freedom matter?
At Homeschool New York, we believe that every family has the God-given legal and constitutional right to home educate, regardless of their philosophy of education or religious affiliation. We're all called as Christians by God to disciple our children. Homeschooling enables parents to invest significantly in their children. At Homeschool New York, LEA, we're so passionate about these beliefs. We advocate for families to protect these established rights and work to provide opportunities, whether it be through inclusion in a local program like varsity sports or statewide programs like our Capitol Day. Homeschooling is not for everybody, but it's incredibly important that in this state and every other state in our nation that we guard the freedom of parents to make that choice.
Learn more at leah.org.
All right, thank you, Sarah. The name of the program is Faith Under Fire. It comes your way every Thursday during the Noon Report or online anytime at familylife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast on the midday weather map. We're looking at an area of high pressure that'll be building in from eastern Canada. Going to set the stage for some fairly decent weather to close the work weekend to begin the weekend. There is a disturbance we're watching for Saturday night, Sunday. That'll bring some snow to the area. In the meantime, for this afternoon, sun and clouds, a couple of leftover flurries southeast of Lake Ontario, little lake snow at the Tuck Hill Plateau. High temperatures, mostly 30s tonight, clear to partly cloudy, cold, low temps, teens and low 20s. Tomorrow, partly sunny, high temps in the 40s. Saturday, mostly cloudy, some limited sun. High temperatures Saturday, upper 30s to the upper 40s.
Okie doke, Kevin Williams, like the sound of that. And finally at noon today, being a bird watcher might be good for your brain. Michael Kastner has this report.
A Canadian study published this week in the Journal of Neuroscience says bird watching may enhance cognitive function as you grow older. The researchers from Toronto studied the brains of 58 bird watchers, half of them experts and the other half novices. The study showed the brains of experts had modifications in regions associated with attention and perception, and showed the experts were better at object recognition and task performance skills. The study suggested that knowledge acquisition might help slow down age-related mental decline. I'm Michael Kastner.
All right, word to the wise. Watch a bird. It's good for your brain. And that's our world, the world we live in. Thursday, February 26th. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.